Burde. For the last 4 days, we've been decoding a cold-blooded murder in the national capital. We've been piecing together the crime itself, the motive, the method and the madness of it all. Shraddha Walkar's murder, allegedly by her live-in partner Aftab Poonawala, has reignited the debate over love jihad and forced conversions. It was her father who made the first allegation, asking for a probe in that direction as well. The BJP and the VHP then echoed that sentiment. They even took it a notch further. Today, a BJP MLA from Uttar Pradesh has shot off a letter to Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath and to the Union Law Minister Kiran Rijiju. Rajeshwar Singh, former Joint Director of the Enforcement Directorate and now an MLA from Lucknow, has called for a more stringent anti-conversion law. Remember, an anti-conversion law already exists in the state of Uttar Pradesh. He called for an amendment to the existing law and even called for a law to be considered at the national level. Now, he will be joining me in a few minutes from now, but this has triggered a larger debate. Forced conversions are of national security importance is what even the Supreme Court had observed just 2 days ago, albeit that was in another case. So has the time now come for such a law? Now, before we delve into that, let me take you through the contents of Rajeshwar Singh's letter and what is it that he really seeks. It is a 6-page letter that he put out on Twitter that we've accessed for you. And the biggest thing that he goes on to talk of is love jihad cases and why they need to be dealt with more seriousness. He says Shraddha's murder is reminiscent of love jihad crimes. He then goes on to say that radicalized members of certain communities are behind these hate crimes. We need to bring in legislative changes to control these hate crimes, he says. Rajeshwar Singh then goes on to say that a complete investigation and trial within 120 days is the need of the hour. He says 60 days for finishing the investigation and 60 days after that to complete the trial. That is how fast-track courts need to work in cases like these. He then goes on to ask or recommend a stricter punishment for love jihad cases because he says they cannot be treated as any other case or a normal criminal. Mandatory death penalty for murder and rape in cases of love jihad is what this MLA and a former Joint Director of the Enforcement Directorate now wants. And that really has triggered this bigger debate of whether or not this is the need of the hour.
I was given relationship to say different things at the time.
So that's the debate and that's the big question that we're asking here on this edition of Plain Speak. A stringent anti-conversion law, the chorus is growing. Is it essential or is it an unwarranted provocation? And before I open this up to all my panelists, I have the BJP MLA from Lucknow, Rajeshwar Singh, who joins me live. Thank you so much, Mr. Singh, for joining us here on CNN News 18. Now, you have written to the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister. You've asked for an amendment to the existing law. You want it to be made more stringent. You've given some recommendations as well. Now, many would say that these changes, especially for the ones where you ask for no bail for an accused, can actually be misused, especially by the investigating agencies. How do you respond to that?
No, it will not be misused because only when I am saying that the trial should be completed in 60 days and the investigation should also be completed in 60 days and there should be no amendments, there should be no adjournments given. So 120 days in jail is not a big thing. There should not be a provision of bail. And in case if there is an exigency, if court thinks, government thinks, then parole can be granted for a few days.
Right, now you've sent this letter not just to the Yogi Adityanath government, not just to your chief minister, but to the union law minister as well. Do you actually think it's viable to bring in this legislation on a national level? Because we've seen the kind of uproar or the opposition that came from opposition parties when anti-conversion bills were being brought out by respective states. Now imagine what happens when you try and do that via the parliament at a national level. Do you actually think that parliamentarians from opposition parties will give their nod for it?
Yes, government should seriously consider it. The type of gruesome offences which are being committed against women, against our daughters, against ladies is horrible. These things have to stop. There has to be deterrence, there has to be retribution. So such strong laws are needed. And actually what happens is that the cases are pending in India for long. There are more than 11 lakh heinous offence, violent crime cases pending for over 3 years. Pendency in trial court is more than 4 crores. Pendency in high courts is more than 49 lakhs.
Right.
So there is no justice. Justice delayed is justice denied. So my thing is there should be special courts and different effect should be there.
Right now, you speak of special courts and fast-track courts. You also speak of pendency, and we all know the kind of delay that we see in our judicial system. Do you actually think we have the bandwidth for what you're asking for at the level of lower courts, especially perhaps in Tier 2, Tier 3 cities?
Yes, we definitely have that bandwidth, and we should have such special courts in every state. We should have. Because if such crimes, if a criminal knows that he can get away, or he'll have so much time that the witnesses turn hostile, and in such cases there should be day-to-day trials. Supreme Court in its various judgments has also said that examination in chief and cross-examination should be held on the same day. So we should have separate dedicated courts. Such crime has just shaken the very consciousness of the society. Everybody is feeling unsafe. So a criminal should know that what would be his fate in 120 days, 60 days of investigation, 60 days of trial.
Right, so you're putting a deadline, so to say, of 120 days. But do you actually think that is going to be a deterrent? Because Uttar Pradesh, as we know, already has an anti-conversion law, but that really hasn't put an end to any of these cases, has it? Just 2 days ago, in fact, we had a woman named Nidhi Gupta who was thrown off the 4th floor of a building because she allegedly didn't accept a conversion nikah with her live-in partner. So what makes you think that the changes that you are proposing will actually end up making the law that would end up being a deterrent for such crimes?
Yes, definitely. See, there is no provision for special courts, and that to trial in next 60 days. If a criminal knows that he will be tried and found guilty, he would be hanged. I have requested that for rape and murder, for such a heinous crime like rape and murder, the mandatory penalty should be death penalty. If a person knows that in 60 days he would be tried and convicted and he will meet his fate, he is not going to commit that crime. Right. Otherwise, if he knows that his case would linger on, the witnesses would turn hostile, the family turns hostile, what happens? They get scot-free, and the time given, this is not done. This is not justified in.
Right, so there is some elbow room, and which is why you need to shorten that time frame is what you're asking for. And I want to ask you this question, Mr. Singh, because you've been a part of the investigating agency before you actually entered politics, and that's why I want to ask you about this particular investigation. Do you think there is actually enough evidence to convict Aftab Poonawala? Because at the moment there seems to be everything that's just circumstantial.
Yes, evidence. Police is doing a job. Police will definitely find more evidences. And as it is 161, as you have rightly said, is not an admissible evidence. The statement before police officer is not an admissible evidence. But definitely there are circumstantial evidences, and evidences being collected under 201, evidence being collected under different sections. I think police will do the needful.
Right. Before I let you go, Mr. Singh, just one last question, and I'm circling back to the anti-conversion law and the mention of love jihad that you make in your letter. There are at least 10 states, in fact, in this country that have such a law. But many are of the opinion that these laws are used to target religious minorities, even willing interfaith couples. How do you respond to that?
No, it is a religion neutral law. Even a foreigner coming though of any religion, it applies equally to all religions. Why would it be targeting a minority community? I don't subscribe to that view. You can't entice a woman that at the time of live-in relationships you said different things. At the time of marriage you tell her that you should convert, otherwise we are not going to marry. This is not going to. This is not acceptable. This is not acceptable.
Right, Rajeshwar Singh, thank you so much for speaking with us here on Plain Speak on CNN News 18. And before I open this up to my panelists, I want to give a certain perspective to our viewers who are just joining in the broadcast. We're talking of an anti-conversion bill and the chorus for which is growing. But what really is the divide? What are the arguments in favor and what are the arguments against? And I want to put that up for our viewers so that you get a perspective of what really it is that is up for discussion tonight. The arguments in favor of the bill is that it will actually halt forced conversions that would come as reprieve to many people in this country. Arguments against is that this will be used specifically to target minorities, specifically Muslims, in a country like ours that many speak of has a majoritarian view at the moment. Now, arguments in favor of such a stringent law go on to say that converting others is not a fundamental right. Yes, you are constitutionally free to practice your own religion, but that does not give you the right to convert anyone else against their will. The argument against such a law is that it could be abused by fundamentalists. These arguments go back and forth. Another argument in favor of such a law is that it would prevent religious outfits from inciting people really, from trying to get them into their faith, trying to give them money, perhaps other perks. The arguments against is that it is extremely vague. It also goes against the liberty of the said individual. More arguments that are in favor of such a law is that it is crucial to stop these forced conversions. There are several arguments that have been made. There are several of these rackets that have been busted in the recent past as well. It is completely unnecessary and unconstitutional, says the other side. And that is really why we are seeing such a wide divide across the spectrum. And I want to open this up to my panelists who are joining us here on this broadcast. Supreme Court lawyer Namit Saxena is with me. Former Commissioner of Delhi Police T.R. Kakkad, Vinod Bansal, National Spokesperson of the VHP, and Tausif Ahmed Khan, an advocate, also joins me on this broadcast. Vinod Bansal, I'd like to get you started on this debate because it was the VHP really who began this entire chorus of love jihad and of an anti-conversion law and that entire angle to be probed in this particular murder case. Why do you think this has anything to do with love jihad? Why do you think there is a religious angle to it?
No, it's a clear case of a religious angle. You see, doesn't exist, then why the Lucknow's Nadeem is killed Seema Soni, Allahabad Adnan killed Hina, Kota's Rizwan killed Antima, Delhi's Ashraf killed Khushi, Meerut Saqib killed Ekta, Khan of Delhi killed Neetu. This Samsad of Meerut killed Priya and Chanchal, both mother and this daughter. And you see, everybody knows about the Mujammil of Mumbai who killed Mansi. Mohammad Sahil of Rohtak has killed Tanishq. Sher Khan of Ghaziabad killed Naina Kaur. The Ajaz of Sonabhadra has killed this Priya Soni. Arif Mohammad of Rohtak killed Shivani. This Imran of Noida killed Diksha. Ye Shahjad of Bijnor killed Babli Rani, who was a Kho-Kho player. You see, the Baris of Mohali killed Barsha Chauhan. Lot many cases are there. I do have dozens of cases listed before me who have been killed merely because of the love jihad. They are all girls who have been trapped, kidnapped, then raped, then forcefully married, then converted to the Islam, and ultimately got killed. You see, and so many, you see, abhi recently जो केरल में एक स्टोरी आई है, I mean the picture रिलीज होने को है अभी, जिसका टीजर रिलीज हुआ है, द केरल स्टोरी, उसमें वो हीरोइन खुद कहती है कि 32,000 लड़कियों को कन्वर्ट करके सीरिया भेजा गया। आप देखिए, इस्लाम का इतना घिनौना चेहरा होने के बावजूद भी अब ये कहते हैं कभी नहीं, लव जिहाद एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता। नंबर 1, नंबर 2, आप एंटी कन्वर्जन लॉ की बात कर रहे थे ना, ये एंटी कन्वर्जन लॉ कितना जरूरी है इस देश के अंदर, इस बात का पता सिर्फ 10 महीने के कुछ आंकड़ों से लग जाता है। You see, in this 2020, the Uttar Pradesh government has enacted the new law to ban forceful religious conversion. I'm showing you the short data of 10 months, starting 10 months, beginning from January 21 to October 21. What this data says, 135 cases were lodged against under this law, and 410 this person was accused in this in various these cases, and 333 were the named accused, and out of them, you see, you will got very surprised that not only the law has been made, but the law enforcement of the law is very important, which have been shown by the government of Uttar Pradesh, that out of 135 cases, 85 cases में आरोप पत्र दाखिल कर दिए, and out of that, you see, 82 जो है महिलाएं पीड़ित थी, जिनमें से 33% नाबालिग लड़कियां थी। This is the history of the first 10 months of the enactment of the law in the state of Uttar Pradesh only. आप देखिए, अगर ये लॉ अगर दिल्ली में होता तो शायद श्रद्धा को हम बचा पाते। दिल्ली सरकार को हमने 3 बार लेटर भेजा, VHP दिल्ली ने, अभी दिल्ली में भी एंटी लव जिहाद और एंटी कन्वर्जन लॉ होना चाहिए, क्योंकि दिल्ली के आसपास के सारे राज्यों में एंटी कन्वर्जन लॉ बन चुका है। तो इसलिए क्या है कि दिल्ली हैज बिकम द सेफ हेवन फॉर ऑल दोज इस्लामिक जिहादीज एंड जन्नत फॉर जिहादीज। वो आराम से वो इस तरह का एक्ट करते हैं, लड़कियों को फंसाते हैं, हिंदू लड़कियों को फंसा करके उसको रिलीजियस कन्वर्जन करते हैं और उसके बाद मौत को मुंह में धकेल देते हैं, या वो मरने को मजबूर हो जाती है। देयर आर टू वेज, बिकॉज एक बार मुसलमान बन गई लड़की या मुसलमानों के चंगुलों में फंस गई, या तो वो खुद मर जाएगी या उसको मार दिया जाएगा। दो ही तरीके हैं उसको।
जी।
और अननेसेसरी तो अगर जिंदी भी रहती है तो जिंदी भी मौत के मुंह में मौत की तरह जीती है, बेसिकली मरे हुए की समान जीती है। ऐसी दर्जनों नहीं हजारों केसेस मेरे पास हैं। और आप देखिए कि इसके बावजूद भी दिल्ली सरकार जो है सोई हुई है और इस्लामिक तुष्टीकरण, मुस्लिम तुष्टीकरण की अंधी जो आड़ में है, उसकी अंधी जो दौड़ में वो इतनी पागल हो चुकी है कि आखिरकार वो हिंदू समाज के हित को चिंता ही नहीं कर रही। लगातार हिंदुओं पर हमले हो रहे हैं। आप देखिए दिल्ली के अंदर, अकेले दिल्ली के अंदर पिछले 5 साल में
right, and you put forth some facts as far as Uttar Pradesh is concerned. And Tausif Ahmed Khan, we recently had a conviction in Uttar Pradesh as well under this particular law that was enacted 2 years ago. Now there are certain fears that are being raised. There are also certain facts that back those kind of fears. Then is it all right for politicians to say that this is only going to be used to malign a certain community, only going to be misused against a certain community? There may be truth to some of these allegations.
You see, fear is a very, we should not be making laws in a country based on fear. If this gentleman who was speaking before me, he's sitting on a English news channel and he's speaking in Hindi. Now, he expressed his fear. He talked about unverified data. He talked about hate-filled statements. I don't know how much of it can be backed by data and can be verified by data. You see, if some people has a fear that if he gets out of home, he will be killed, and therefore the government should pass a law that no one should get out of home. That's not how things work. There is one aspect to it, which is a legitimate aspect, which is that forced religious conversion is illegal. The law is already there. It is illegal for any person of any community to force anybody, to coerce anybody, to lure anybody into converting to another religion. It is illegal. The law is already there.
Right.
And on top of it, whatever you hear from the propagandist of the right wing is nothing but a political propaganda.
Right.
Today, if we take this case of Shraddha, it's a very brutal case of very ghastly crime deserving a capital punishment. No one will dispute to that.
Right.
But if you go back and you see whether there was a forced conversion, whether there was a marriage, whether anyone changed anybody's religion, none of it is here. Prima facie, it does not seem so. It should be open to police. Police must, probe all angles and provide evidence of what they have found.
Right.
But to come to TV and come to say that, Muslims are bad or Sikhs are bad or that, Christians are bad, this sort of thing is only going to ruin the secular fabric.
Right, and I don't think that's the intention of the people who are actually making these legislations. Yes, Vinod Bansal may have said something that you are picking on right now, and I will let him defend himself on it and make a rebuttal. But we've been speaking of laws that are being enacted at a state level, something that the Supreme Court has set a precedent for, and it has given the state legislatures power to actually enact these laws, which is why we're seeing at least 10 states in the country that have such a law already in existence. And Vinod Bansal, I need to go to my other two panelists as well, but I will give you 30 seconds to rebut to what Tausif Khan had to say.
I'll challenge Tausif Khan that whatever list I have enumerated over here, even a single case, if he can challenge me. आप देखिए ये डाटा सारा का सारा on record है. This what I've said on this national channel is on the basis of the media and the police reports. Number one. Number two is that whatever data I've shown on the channel about the impact of the law, it is all the government data. This is the VHP spokesperson. It's not a Jamaat Ulema Hind spokesperson or the Darul Uloom Deoband spokesperson or the some jihadi element spokesperson. We believe in the reality. We believe in the facts, and we are the sufferers.
Also
this is the only country which is whose majority suffered by the ugly act of the minority community, so-called minority community.
First terrorist
and even though we are not, we are very patient on it. आप देखिए कि मेरी बेटी के 35 टुकड़े करने वालों के बाद 35 टुकड़े करने के बाद भी हमने किसी सरतन से जुदा करने के नारा नहीं दिया. आपके लोगों ने क्या कहा? अभी तो कुछ किया नहीं, सिर्फ पैगंबर मोहम्मद के बारे में कुछ बोला, उसके बाद आपने सरतन से जुदा कर दिया. और आप लोगों को मुंह में से एक शब्द नहीं निकला। शर्म आनी चाहिए आप लोगों को, ऐसे लोगों को। और मेरी बेटी के 35 टुकड़े करवा दिए और ज्यादा करे, और 35 टुकड़े करने वालों को आप फॉर्म से निकालिए ना, आप उसको आप फतवा जारी करिए ना, उसको बोलिए, उसको पेट्रोल डाल के जलाइए, उसको आप बोलिए, उसको आप उसको बोलिए, अरे आप बोलिए ना,
I request you both gentlemen to please maintain civility of the debate and of course mind language as well. And I want to get in the other guests that have been patiently listening on. I want to get in the former Commissioner of Delhi Police who joins us on this broadcast. Mr. Kakkad, yes, there are these laws that are in place in several parts of the country. Some would say that they are being misused, especially by the police, because of the kind of provisions that these laws put in place. As someone who's been part of an investigating agencies, do you say that is a possibility? Do you think that could be the case? Or do you think that this kind of a law would actually bolster the police's investigation in some cases?
Unfortunately, every debate that we have on the television gets converted into a political debate. Today, it's a fact that forced conversions are taking place. The laws do exist in some states, but some states don't have it. Now, there is enough provision in these acts to only prosecute people who indulge in forced conversion. To say that the minority will be harassed, it is just the number. If the minority is indulging in forced conversion, obviously there will be more cases against the minority. And if the majority is not doing anything or doing in a limited fashion and it is a force, obviously the number will be less. So there is no need for hue and cry that the minority is being targeted by the law enforcement agencies. Whatever case comes before, whether the person is a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian or anybody, it's just sheer numbers where the minority community boys are indulging in forced conversion or the people. So their number is more. I don't see any other reason. Now, whether this law should be enacted for the whole country or not, I think it should be, because one such case when takes place, it sort of creates social upheaval, resulting into mass violence here and there, sort of spending resources of the state. And if these are things to be stopped, there has to be very strict follow-up to these cases, and also very strict action must be initiated.
Right.
If somebody wants to convert otherwise, there is no objection. It is only the forced conversion where things go wrong.
Right.
Go wrong as per the law, go wrong socially, go wrong otherwise, creating an upheaval in the country.
Right, and Amit Saxena, I want to get you in on that because we are talking of cases that could become precedents in the future. We're also talking of laws that are cited, and as we know that the anti-conversion law that is in place in multiple states, there was a precedent that was set by Odisha decades ago, and that was upheld by the Supreme Court, that's saying that in case of public order issues, the state legislature can have the ability, does have the capability, or does have the mandate to put in place such a law. So then when we look at a national law, and when chorus is being made for a national law, legally speaking, do you think that is viable, that is something that the courts would put their stamp on?
See, criminal law under the scheme, the constitution which we have, criminal law falls in concurrent list. So both state as well as the center can legislate on criminal law. Law and order is a state subject. So that is what the Supreme Court said in the Odisha case, as you mentioned, that law and order, because being a state subject, state can formulate a law on these lines, whatever. Now, when it comes to, whether the parliament of the country should make a uniform law across the country for, against forced conversions, I have reservations, regarding it. See, because when we make a law, there has to be a lot of data supplanting, the law as to what is the basic requirement of that law in a particular geographical region. Now, the states are better equipped to understand what is the requirement in that particular state as to whether there should be a law regarding forced conversion, or whether if we bring such a law, there will be a lot of misuse to that law. What should be the proportionate sentencing or proportionate punishment to that law of against forced conversion? What will be the exact definition of forced conversion? So there are a lot of facets to it legally. So I think states are better equipped to, to bring on such laws. Like similarly, we have, cow slaughter laws, across different states, wherever, the states have deemed it fit to bring such laws.
Right.
Similarly, if the states deem it fit that, that anti-conversion laws or forced conversions laws should be there in our state.
Right, but even at the state level, there have been several legal hurdles that have come to the fore. There have been several PILs that have been filed to challenge it, and the criticism always is that because we have a BJP government at the centre, something that a party or a government that some see as majoritarian, it is going to be used to target minorities, and that's the argument that is being made in cases of these particular states as well. What do you have to say about that?
See, criticism cannot deter state legislative assemblies to pass laws which they deem it fit to, to pass to suit, the need to, prescribe to law and order situation in the state. Criticism alone is not sufficient. See, there is a presumption of constitutionality in favor of a law passed by the state legislative assembly. So when constitutionality of such laws is being challenged, they have to show that, what provision of the constitution, whether part 3 or otherwise, or any other law, if these laws violate, the constitution, if they breach, the constitution or not. In absence of that, there is a presumption in their favor. So criticism alone, see, anybody can stand up and, criticize a law. It does not matter, simple. These are not legal arguments that minorities are being targeted, etc. Legal arguments are to be made to, to challenge constitutionality of a legislative assembly's provision of enactment. So criticism alone is not sufficient. There have to be legal arguments quite. See, and also, see, we have a democracy, we have a rule of law. If a law is passed by the state legislative assembly, only through judicial review it can be shrugged off. Now, we don't have street justice, 10 people or 100 people or 1,000 people, coming out on streets and saying and criticizing, oh, this is bad in law,
right.
This law should be taken back. It can't work like this.
Right.
The
Why exactly is it bad in law is the
for.
argument that needs to be put forth, and I want to get in the other lawyer on the panel as well. Tausif Ahmed Khan, like Namit Saxena was pointing out, and I want you to get in on this, what exactly is the problem with these laws, legally speaking?
No, legally speaking, as the panelists before me already mentioned, that the law and order is a state subject, and state has passed laws. There are laws in every state. More or less, every state has the law. But to give it a name called love jihad, to define it, to call it a term, like introduce a new term called love jihad, and then define it in a way. I mean, as of now, it is very unambiguous. We do not have a draft in front of us. We are not discussing on any draft. But through
but we do have some sort of framework, given that
debates,
it is present in at least 10 states in the country. So there is a skeleton, so to say.
What we have is a hate-filled propaganda which unnecessarily identifies a crime with a particular religion, which
but
is
why
not
do you say that?
permissible.
Which is why in my question I asked you, legally speaking, what is the trouble?
No, what is the need? What is the need of calling this a love jihad? You can simply have. No, where does the term love jihad come from? What does it actually mean? How do you define it? Is the question. Why do we see every now and then on TV news channel these right wingers, the BJP or the VHP or other Sangh Parivars, a spokesperson talking about love jihad and talking about religion? Now, crime is a crime. If you try to identify it with a religion, then you are trying to reap a political benefit out of something, because it has always been seen that if in the voting period, if votes are polarized, it helps BJP. So we cannot today be so innocent and say, oh no, I am talking about reform, I'm talking about law. No, you are actually propagating your propaganda. You are furthering your cause of election campaign. You are polarizing votes to help win the election.
So then it's all about political narrative.
All in the name of innocently, yes, it's a political narrative.
But some would say that's the case the other side of the spectrum as well. All those who claim that this is persecution of minorities under a BJP government, some would say even that's just political narrative and absolutely has no truth to it.
No, you can choose to say that Pehlu Khan was not lynched. You can say there are hundreds of names. I do not know. I do not come with the list of the names. But you can today deny in the television channel that in the past, since the BJP came to power, not a single person identified by the religion has been lynched by mob. You can say that, but that does not change the fact. People have seen it. It is only setting a political narrative to help people in power win the election. You can say that. No lynching going on. You can say on mere suspicion of meat being a
no
beef
political
meat,
representative,
the person
political
was
representative is
killed.
there in the debate.
And the convicts,
Neither any spokesman or any political party there in the debate.
Convicts was in jail.
If you have the data, you show me. Otherwise, tell me
to jail
who killed Krishna Valmiki of Jalabad, who killed Khemchand Mahavar of Jaipur, who killed Yogesh Jatav of Alwar, who killed Sampath Bhairava of Alwar, who killed Pooja Mehra of Jalabad, who killed Gaurav Prakash Bhatta of Batwala, who killed Sarika Pali, who killed Adat Tapadia of Bhilwara.
Right, gentlemen, so the jury is still out on this. The debate has been reignited and we will continue to have these kind of debates because whether or not this law is or a need for this law is actually the need of the hour, is it warranted or is it a needless provocation? That has been the debate every time we've had a state wanting to bring in such a law. Those laws have been passed, there have been convictions that have been made under those laws as well, cases that have been reported, and some courts have found merit in the allegations or the charges made on the basis of that particular law, which is why we've seen convictions as well. But that debate continues. Now that a chorus is being made for a national law, whether the time has come for that or is it just a needless provocation like I said? Well, the debate is out there and our viewers can judge for themselves what it is. But I thank you all gentlemen for joining us here on this broadcast with your perspective. We're shifting focus now to the other big debate and the controversy surrounding the Congress party. Former Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh and a senior leader of the Grand Old Party, Kamal Nath, is no stranger to controversies and he finds himself in yet another one. On the occasion of his birthday, his supporters bought him a cake. Well, nothing wrong in that. But unfortunately for the Congress leader, the cake was in the shape of a temple. To be specific, a 121 feet tall Hanuman temple that Kamal Nath built in his constituency of Chhindwara during his tenure. It had the image of Lord Hanuman on top of it as well. But oblivious to the imagery perhaps, Kamal Nath went ahead and ran a knife straight through it. And that has now irked the BJP, who's blaming him and the Congress party for hurting Hindu sentiments.
ये वो पार्टी जो कभी राम मंदिर का विरोध करती थी, अब देखा कि नहीं इसके कारण तो वोटों का नुकसान हो जाता है, तो वोट के लिए फिर हनुमान जी याद आ गए। हनुमान जी को आप केक पे बना रहे हैं और केक काट रहे हैं। ये अपमान है हिंदू धर्म का।
It has hurt the sentiments of youngsters because they are not getting job. It has hurt the sentiments of common people because there is price rise. It has hurt the sentiments of a common voter because you are manipulating voter list. So you always do Hindu-Muslim to shield your foolishness, to shield your weakness, to shield how bad you are at governance.
Is this just a judgment error or is it a calculated move like the BJP alleges? Is this an insult to Hindus? That's the big question that we are asking here on Plain Speak tonight. And joining me on this broadcast is national spokesperson of the BJP, Shraddha Poonawala. Congress spokesperson Ashveer Singh Khadiyal also joins me and political analyst Varun Singh is with us. But I would like to begin with the Congress spokesperson. And Mr. Khadiyal, do you see anything wrong in what happened in Chhindwara? I would like to begin by asking you that.
See, wrong are the people who say that the Bharatiya Janata Party turns a blind eye to the real issues. The Bharatiya Janata Party has turned a blind eye to all the big issues of the state, of the country. They have, they have talked of an issue that is about a cake, that is about the cutting of a cake. But in Madhya Pradesh, the people that have been cut, the crime that has taken place, the law and order that has deteriorated, the amount of unemployment there is, the amount of poverty there is, the amount of hunger there is, and the amount of people that have died because of that, the Bharatiya Janata Party has not talked about that.
Sure, Mr. Kadyal, and we'll ask the BJP spokesperson on the panel those questions as well. But like you said, this is about a cake. Unfortunately, it's not about just any cake. The imagery of it is what is of importance here. And do you think Kamal Nath and the Congress party is just being oblivious to that and like brushing it aside under the carpet?
See, like I said, for the Bharatiya Janata Party, the people who are being cut, they won't talk about it. They would not speak about it. But about a cake, they would definitely speak about the cutting of a cake. That is what the priority of the Bharatiya Janata Party is. We need to establish that. Number two, the Hindu Dharma does not need the Bharatiya Janata Party to defend it. It is the Dharma. The Hindu Dharma is much bigger than the Bharatiya Janata Party is or can ever be. It does not need Bharatiya Janata Party to speak for it. There is the country that speaks for the Hindu Dharma. And let me tell you one thing, Bharatiya Janata Party also comprises of humans, also comprises of people, and so does, all the other parties of India. They all comprise of humans. They all comprise of people, who are devoted to Dharma, who are devoted to religions, who respect the religions. So the Bharatiya Janata Party does not have to, politicize everything, does not have to basically ignore and turn a blind eye to the real issues, but talk about a cake. I think it is very unfortunate that today we are discussing about cake cutting, but we are not discussing about the people that have been cut, that have been destroyed, that have been,
Right, and I would like Aftab Poonawala to respond to that. The Congress says you have dearth of issues. You don't want to talk about the real issues, which is why you've picked this up and you're making a mountain of a molehill.
Poonam, I hope I won't be interrupted by the spokesperson of the Congress. First of all, if real issues are the ones that you should speak about, I agree. Is Savarkar the issue? I thought Bharat Jodo Yatra was about Mehngai, Berozgari, but today Rahul Gandhi was talking about Savarkar ji. Anyways, as far as unemployment is concerned, Poonam, please open CMI data. Unemployment in Madhya Pradesh is less than 1%. In Rajasthan, which is ruled by Ajdeep's party, it's over 20% for the last 1 year. Now let's come to this issue. This issue is not about a cake cutting. This issue is about the chot on Hindu Astha for vote of the vote bank, and we've seen whether it's Jarkioli and his statements on Hindus, whether it is Shivraj Patil comparing Gita ji with Jihad, whether it's Hindu terror, saffron terror, Hindutva is like ISIS, denying the existence of Sri Ram, saying that we will oppose Ram Mandir, opposing the Ram Mandir, Bhumi Pujan, Hindus are more dangerous and they are terrorists and not LET. These are the kind of statements that have come out from the Congress party, and these same people then were the genuine go outside the Mandir at the time of Chunav, and therefore we are saying these are Chunavi Hindus. If they were real Hindus, they would take action on Jarkioli. They would never ever think of even cutting the cake which has Hanumanji on it or a Mandir ki Akriti on it. Just one last question, Poonam. Can Congress party people ever have guts to cut a cake which has, let's say for instance, the deity of any other faith? Let's say for instance the biggest deity of Christianity, Jesus, or Allah or any other deity, and it should not happen. It should not happen with any deity, Bhagwan, God, because we respect these. These are not symbols to cut or to put on a cake. This is not even part of our culture. So therefore I would like Arshdeep, would you ever put the tallest figure in Islam, that figure would be put on the cake? Would you ever do it? Would you ever dare to do it? Why this liberty with only one religion to insult that religion?
So Hindus are soft target, Mr. Kadyal. Is that what it is? Because the BJP clearly sees a pattern with Congress and its leaders as far as the Hindu faith is concerned.
First of all, let's see what this statement is. Let's see the BJP for what it is. They say that this is wrong. They say, that we will tell you what is right, what is wrong, as if the Bharatiya Janata Party, it has some different kind of humans who have zada haq over the dharam. Arey bhai, everybody has equal, respect and regard for the dharam. You are no, special, VVIP. It is upon the person. It is about the devotion of a person. Somebody who on his birthday, wanted to celebrate by basically, getting around and making sure that he wanted to pay his respects through basically blowing off the candles and through cutting off a cake. The intention was to pay respects to it, to pay regard to it, not the other way around. That is the perspective of the Bharatiya Janata Party. That is how the Bharatiya Janata Party looks at it. It goes on to suggest it is full of negativity. It is full of pessimism. It is full of politicization. It is full of, hatred politics. But us, we were all about respect and regard. It is our perspective. It is our devotion.
Poonam.
We do not have to take a certificate from the Bharatiya Janata
Poonam.
Party. But when it comes to the real issues, Mr. Modi hasn't done a single press conference
Poonam.
ever since he became the Prime Minister.
Right.
Did he ever do a press conference when people were being cut from the middle? When just recently, please hear me out, Shehzad, I did not interrupt you. Did Mr. Modi speak a single word when somebody cut his live-in partner into 34 pieces? When somebody was cut, did Mr. Modi speak a word? Did Mr. Modi speak a word?
What are we discussing,
When people have been abducted, when people have been killed, did he speak a word? So is that cutting not important for the Bharatiya Janata Party? Is that not even an issue for the Bharatiya Janata Party?
The allegation against the BJP is that you need to speak of issues that actually matter to the people of this country. And because you are no self-proclaimed, or the BJP is no self-proclaimed defender of the Hindu faith, that's the allegation that is being made against you.
Who has given them this certificate?
Poonam, let me answer this.
Yes, Mr. Khadial, you had your say. Mr. Khadial, you had your say. Let Shehzad respond.
And a very long one,
He
please.
interrupted me 11 times.
Shehzad, go ahead. I have Varun Singh also patiently waiting. Shehzad, go ahead.
Why did Mr. Modi not talk about
Poonam, my limited question
of the lady that happened in Delhi? Why did Mr. Modi not utter a word?
Mr. Khadial, I request you to please not interrupt. Mr. Khadial, you had your say. I gave you your time. Let Shehzad respond. I will come back to you.
Just make him answer this question, please.
And the panel is one.
It's not up to me to make him answer. That's why you've asked the question. Wait for him to respond, or if you think he's not going to respond, then you can come back and rebut. But let him at least have his say. Go ahead, Shehzad.
Poonam, there are two issues to this. First, in my opening statement, I made it very clear that if this was the idea of the Congress to pay tribute or respect to a deity or a faith, they say that you want to blow a candle over Hanumanji, or you want to blow a candle over the Mandir Akriti and cut Hanumanji or cut the Akriti, then I am asking them, would they do that with any other faith? No answer to that. As far as the real issues are concerned, Poonam, I request Rahul Gandhi, who keeps saying that Bharat Jodo is about Mengai and Berozgari. Rajasthan, the petrol rate is 108 rupees a litre. Gujarat, it's 96 rupees. Rajasthan, the unemployment rate is 20% plus for the last 1 year. Gujarat, it's less than 1, it's 1.5%. Madhya Pradesh is less than 1%. Let us have a conversation on this. But yes, if you keep insulting and attacking a religion, is Gita being equated to Jihad an issue that should have been raised by the Congress? Jarkioli saying Hindus are bad and dirty, is that the key issue of the Congress? It's not. What action did they take on Jarkioli, who's the working president of Karnataka, and Karnataka is going to have elections? What action did they take on this Shivraj Patil? What action did they take on the series of leaders who said Shriram doesn't exist, Hindutva is like ISIS? Rahul Gandhi in a Mengai ki rally went and said Hindutva is like ISIS. So this is their agenda, because बनना है वोट बैंक का भाईजान, चलानी है तुष्टिकरण की दुकान, इसलिए करो हिंदुओं का अपमान, and they are in competition with Gopal Italian and Rajendra Pal. You see, because there is Aam Aadmi Party giving them stiff competition for this vote bank, every day the Congress comes up with a new one, and therefore I am calling this out. But I am more than happy to discuss whichever issues they want, provided Mr. Rahul Gandhi stops discussing Savarkar ji, and if he has any doubt, he should ask Uddhav ji about Savarkar ji. But let's discuss the issues, but stop insulting Hindu Astha.
Right, it's interesting that you bring up elections and vote bank. And Mr. Khadial, before I come to you, I want to get in Varun Singh as well, who has been patiently listening to both of you. And Varun Singh, is this all about elections? That's really what it boils down to. We have elections in one state that just concluded, another one that goes to polls in a few days from now. Is that all it is? It's your polarization versus my polarization. Let's see which one reaps higher dividend.
Absolutely. All political parties do everything to win elections. And, expecting Kamal Nath, who is a very senior leader, he could have easily said that the cake that was brought in was by a foundation where he was invited to cut the cake. But if it would have been a rookie politician, this wouldn't have converted into such a major controversy. A senior veteran politician like Kamal Nath knows what might end up hurting the religious sentiments of such a majority in the country. And this is not the first time the Congress is doing something of this sort. We have seen calf being butchered in the middle of the road in Kerala. There are multiple incidences that Shehzad has pointed out right now. The Congress can categorically come and say that, we have a set ideology, we are following it, and there is no harm in it. Rahul Gandhi has been very categoric about criticizing Savarkar, and he has taken a stand that is pretty anti-Hindu in Maharashtra. And in Maharashtra, it has created a major controversy right now. A state which was very calm and quiet right now, I see Mr. Raj Thackeray asking his karyakartas to come on the streets, show black flags. Everything is related to politics. The only problem over here is that expecting Kamal Nath, who was such a senior politician, if he cannot at this age and at this time, after so much of experience, realize what may end up or what may boil into a controversy, then I think we are novice to discuss it over here. He understands what his party needs. Right. He understands what will work for him and what will work for his party in the upcoming elections.
All political narratives. It's all pandering to each person's agenda, each person's vote bank. And is that what really this controversy is about? Well, we've heard all sides and the viewer can decide for themselves. I thank you all gentlemen for joining us here on this broadcast. And the controversy over that and much more, we'll keep a track of on the other side of a quick break. Don't go anywhere.
Very close to those positions. They've also lost, as far as one can tell, almost half of their advanced armored equipment, tanks, armored vehicles, missiles, things like that. And there seem to be casualties that are approaching about 100,000. Now, these are guesses, but that seems to be the extent of the Russian loss. So it's very difficult to see how this can be painted in any way as a Russian victory. Now, on the other hand, Ukraine is a much, much smaller country than Russia. The Russian defense budget is 10 times the size of Ukraine's. So this is a David and Goliath story in which David is doing astonishingly well. But unlike in the biblical tale, David is unlikely to be able to vanquish or completely defeat or destroy Goliath. So what is most likely is that David will cause a kind of stalemate. The Ukrainians will force the Russians to be stuck in their core territories in the Donbass, probably in Crimea. And at that point, when you have a real stalemate where the Russians are not advancing, but the Ukrainians are finding it very hard to advance, that's when negotiations will begin. I think the Ukrainian government has made it clear that they are open to negotiations. The Russian government has not. And I think that India can actually play a very important role here, because the key has to be to make Putin accept that he has not gotten what he wanted. The Ukrainians have been living with half a loaf since 2014. They have been living without Crimea, without the Donbass. That's about 20% of Ukraine's territory. Russia has to accept that it is not going to get what it wanted, and then there can be a negotiation about how you describe places like Crimea and the Donbass. My guess is we'll have them as kind of frozen conflicts, a little bit like what has happened in Kashmir, when neither side recognizes the other, but kind of life goes on. But in order to do that, there needs to be a concerted effort to get the Russians on board. India is perfectly positioned to do it, and I think it really should take this opportunity.
And now that India is going to be the next president of the G20, it's going to be hosting the G20 summit this coming year as well. But just to round off this conversation on the war, and then we'll come to Donald Trump in a moment. What's the future looking like for Vladimir Putin? Because clearly, as you said, he's not winning this war. Can a Putin who's been defeated on the battlefield, or someone who has to settle for something less than what he started off with, would he be able to survive?
It's anybody's guess. It's a very closed system. It's a very personalistic system, Jacob. If you think about it, this is the most personalistic dictatorship in the world, by which I mean even Xi Jinping. If Xi Jinping were to die tomorrow, you know what happens. The Central Committee of the Communist Party the Standing Committee of the Politburo would get together, they'd vote. One of the 7 members would become the next leader of China. If in a monarchy, if King Salman were to die, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia becomes king. In other words, there is institutions and rules of succession organizations. What happens if Putin dies? Nobody knows. It is literally a country with nuclear weapons, with a veto in the Security Council, spanning 9 time zones, run by one person. So we can't be sure. I think that my gut is that he will survive because he has created what he himself calls a vertical of power, which is so strong that it's very difficult to imagine even a military defeat dislodging him. Because who would replace him? Would it be a general? Would it be he's insulated himself from a lot of challenges. He's killed most of his political opponents or jailed them or exiled them. The military is, as far as we can tell, firmly under his control. He has a presidential guard, by the way, that is the only army that is allowed in Moscow. We're not sure how large it is, but it is probably over 100,000 soldiers that are under his personal control. It's a kind of like the Roman emperors had this Praetorian Guard. Putin has his own Praetorian Guard. It's a significant blow, but I myself think it would take more than that to dislodge this guy who's been in power 21 years now.
We have information from the Polish president. Also, American officials have been saying this over the last few hours, that it looks likely that this missile originated from Ukraine and not from Russia, and that it accidentally strayed onto Polish territory, killing 2 Polish citizens. Does this now sort of dampen down, scale down the possibility of any escalation in this war?
Oh, yes. I think it's highly unlikely that this event will produce any kind of upward spiral or escalatory spiral. Frankly, even if it had come out of Russian territory, I think it has been heartening to see the seriousness, the sobriety, and the caution with which mostly all the NATO members have been handling this. Recognizing that the important issue is not even was there something that came out of Russia, but was there an intention? Does it appear to have been a planned attack? I think people recognize that, look, war is a very messy business, and this is one of the many reasons why wars are terrible, and the sooner we can end this war, the better.
Welcome back. You're watching Plain Speak, and we have breaking news coming in from Maharashtra now, where the Bharat Jodo Yatra is currently underway, and the BJP has slammed Rahul Gandhi's comments on Savarkar that came to the fore during this yatra. BJP has now taken to Twitter. They say, and I quote, "Previously, Rahul said for Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, aapki history." Adds Mumbaikar should remember that Aditya Thackeray hugged this person just 2 days ago. BJP then going on to say that clearly for Uddhav and family, Sonia Gandhi is more important. They've also tweeted a letter that was written by Indira Gandhi in 1980, which goes on to read, "Veer Savarkar's daring defiance of the British government has its own important place in the annals of our freedom movement. I wish success to the plans to celebrate the birth centenary of the remarkable son of India." This is a letter that Indira Gandhi had written in 1980, and that is what the BJP is quoting to Rahul Gandhi as he goes ahead and insults him, as the BJP claims. Let's listen in to what exactly Rahul Gandhi said while he was on his Bharat Jodo Yatra in Maharashtra earlier today.
ये मेरे लिए सबसे जरूरी डॉक्यूमेंट है। ये देखा आपने? दिख रहा है आपको? और इसमें आप देख लीजिए, ये सावरकर जी की चिट्ठी है जिसमें उन्होंने अंग्रेजों को लिखा है, और मैं पूरी चिट्ठी आपको पढ़नी होगी, देख लीजिए, मैंने हाईलाइट भी कर रखी है, मगर मैं सिर्फ आखिरी लाइन पढ़ना चाहता हूं। अंग्रेजी में लिखी है तो मैं अंग्रेजी में बोल देता हूं। आई बेग टू रिमेन, सर, योर मोस्ट ओबीडियंट सर्वेंट, वी.डी. सावरकर। हिंदी में ट्रांसलेशन कर देता हूं, सर, मैं आपका नौकर रहना चाहता हूं। ये मैंने नहीं लिखा, ये सावरकर जी ने लिखा है। तो इसको आप पढ़ लीजिए, देख लीजिए। अगर फडणवीस जी देखना चाहते हैं इसको, वो भी देख लें। तो मैं तो इसमें बहुत क्लियर हूं, सावरकर जी ने अंग्रेजों की मदद की थी।
Vinaya, my colleague, now joins me for more on this. And Vinaya, it's letter versus letter. There was a letter that Rahul Gandhi held up during that press conference, as we can see. And now the BJP has put out another letter to counter the Congress party. This one speaks of Vinayak Damodar Savarkar's defiance against the British, and it is written by Indira Gandhi.
Well, absolutely. It's a letter versus letter war. And remember, this isn't the first time that Congress has tried to wreak this controversy in Maharashtra. In fact, when the Bharat Jodo Yatra entered Maharashtra in his first rally in Nanded, that was also the first time when Rahul Gandhi spoke of Savarkar. He said that this is something that is going to stir controversy. At that time, it was not picked up. But now, in a press conference that he has held in Akola, he specifically raised not only the issue of Savarkar, but he also handed over the letter that he said showed that Savarkar had in fact said to the British that he was a servant. Clearly, that has not gone down well with several political parties in Maharashtra, particularly in a difficult spot, is the Shiv Sena led by Uddhav Thackeray, because just a few days ago, Aditya Thackeray had gone to meet Rahul Gandhi and to walk with him in order to show support for the Bharat Jodo Yatra. At such a juncture, when the Shiv Sena has a clear stance for support of V.D. Savarkar, we have seen that all the political parties have jumped into this controversy. The BJP has slammed Rahul Gandhi. Ashish Shelar has showed the letter that Indira Gandhi had written. But moreover, the BJP as well as the Eknath Shinde faction of Shiv Sena have now targeted the Shiv Sena led by Uddhav Thackeray, saying that nothing else would have pained Babasaheb Thackeray as much as this, because this was something that Babasaheb Thackeray was very clear on.
Right.
So it clearly has raised a huge controversy in Maharashtra.
Absolutely, and Savarkar had divided the Shiv Sena led by Uddhav Thackeray and the Congress party even when they were in alliance and in power in Maharashtra. Do stay on with me, because trouble is brewing for Rahul Gandhi as far as his comments on Savarkar go, because a police complaint has now been filed against him and Nana Patole for the remarks over Savarkar. We're given to understand that the grandnephew of the freedom fighter Ranjit Savarkar has now given a written complaint to the police over the comments that were made, especially the one where he says, the letter that Rahul Gandhi quotes, where he says Savarkar begged to be the Britishers' obedient servant. So it's not just a political fight, Vinaya, that this is limited to now. There is trouble on legal fronts as well. It is still a complaint. We don't know if it will be converted into an FIR just yet.
Well, absolutely. It really does sound for trouble for Rahul Gandhi, not just for Rahul Gandhi, but also for Nana Patole, because remember, the complaint has been given for both Rahul Gandhi as well as Nana Patole by Ranjit Savarkar. Ranjit Savarkar was accompanied by Rahul Shevaye, who's an MP in the Shiv Sena camp of the Eknath Shinde. They went to the Shivaji Park police station today in the afternoon, where they have submitted a written complaint. Whether an FIR will be registered in this is something that only time will say. It is quite likely, given the stance that we have seen of different political parties on the issue, that there might be legal trouble as well brewing for Rahul Gandhi and for Nana Patole after a police complaint has been given by Ranjit Savarkar.
Right.
But clearly, this controversy is not going to die down any soon in Maharashtra. Rahul Gandhi yet again raking up the Savarkar controversy after being in Maharashtra. Almost all parties up against it. In fact, the MNS has said that it will not allow Rahul Gandhi's rally that is going to happen in Shegaon tomorrow to take place. So Rahul Gandhi has in fact even gone ahead to challenge the government, saying that if they want to stop his public rally, they should
the Uddhav Thackeray and his faction are being put in the dock, especially after Rahul Gandhi's comments and the meeting between Aditya Thackeray. But let's listen in to how Uddhav Thackeray actually came out and responded to the criticism and what Savarkar's grandnephew is now saying.
आदरणीय स्वातंत्र्यवीर सावरकर, उनके बारे में हमारे मन में, दिल में श्रद्धा और प्रेम है, निष्ठा है। वो ऐसी जाएगी नहीं, जाने वाली नहीं, और कोई भी कितना भी प्रयत्न करे तो उसको हम हटने नहीं देंगे। लेकिन साथ ही साथ जिन लोगों का स्वातंत्र्य संग्राम जाने ना 75 साल पूरे हो गए, उसके पहले जो भी हमें सवाल कर रहे हैं, उनका योगदान क्या है स्वतंत्रता के लिए? क्या उनके कितने लोग अंदर गए थे, जेल में गए थे, और कितने लोगों ने बलिदान किया है? जिनका कोई योगदान नहीं रहा, ऐसे लोगों को अधिकार नहीं स्वातंत्र्यवीर सावरकर के बारे में हमें सवाल पूछने का।
इनके मन में आया बोल दिया, क्योंकि इनको लगता है मैंने जो बोला वो इतिहास बन गया। इसी गलतफहमी से वो आए, मगर महाराष्ट्र में ये गलतफहमी नहीं चलेगी और सरकार इसके ऊपर पूरा अभी हमने पुलिस स्टेशन में कंप्लेंट की है, तो इसकी तहकीकात करेंगे और पूरा इसका न्याय होगा और इनके ऊपर कार्रवाई होगी।
That controversy is simmering in Maharashtra, and we'll keep a track of each and every development. But with that, it's a wrap from me on this edition. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Namaste and welcome to this Thursday edition of The Right Stand. I am Anand Narasimhan. Jai Hind, ladies and gentlemen. Are there those elements who want to deliberately not just defame India, but create instances of social